What's up, everybody? Welcome to In Love with Horror. I'm AJ.
And I'm Christy.
And y'all, we're about to talk about episode 5 of True Detective Night Country. Now, it's a little bit different with this because they dropped it on Friday because of the Super Bowl. So, we are getting to it a little bit later, but we still wanted to, continue with our series of talking about each episode. And if you haven't seen our other episode discussions, they're all great. Even going back and looking at some of those is fun to kind of see like what we were thinking at the time and the kind of where we are now. So go check out the previous episodes that we reviewed if you haven't looked at that yet. But with this will be a spoiler-filled discussion all about episode 5. So if you haven't seen episode 5 yet, go check that out and then come back and join us in this discussion. And the way we've never seen any of our other discussions, the way we talk about it here on In Love with Horror is we kind of group things up into either categories or characters. So for pure example, the first thing we'll be talking about in this episode, we'll be talking about the Inupiat community. And then we'll jump into, talking about the characters. So we kind of group things together and kind of talk about maybe, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like topics, you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's something specific, you know what I'm trying to say?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I got you. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not.
Yeah, there's a certain word. There's a certain word, y'all. I'm trying to figure out, but it's escaping my mind right now. It's late. It's late as hell when we filming this. But yeah, we're gonna talk about episode 5. We're gonna dive into it. So with that, pass it over to you, baby, to walk us through what we got laid out for episode 5 discussion.
Okay. Well, so the first category or topic for discussion is the Inupiat community. The last episode, there was nothing really regarding that, so we didn't talk about that last time. But this time, we got a little bit more. So first of all, there is a discussion that happens later on in the episode between Danvers and Leah. When she comes to basically busting down the door, like, let me in. I want to see my daughter. I need to talk to her.
Oh, right.
Trying to get her to come back home. And
she was in mom mode.
She was in mom mode, yes, for sure. And during that discussion, Leah does say that there have been 9 stillbirths other than the one that happened previously.
Do you know how many stillbirths there were in the villages in the past 3 months?
I know about Aviat Carter's.
9. That's 9 moms, Liz.
And I had mentioned in that episode when we talked about it, like that is the impact of no longer having Annie K there, and also the impact of what's happening in the villages because of the water and the mines. So the issues are still going on, and Annie is no longer there to kind of like help in any kind of way, possibly to try to help these kids and these families that are experiencing these losses.
Yep.
And which I'll talk a little bit more about that too later on, because there's a scene where it kind of gets really impactful. Okay. Kind of showcasing that impact from these stillbirths. But so we get some insight about that. And then there is a big protest that occurs, and Leah's in the midst of this. I really think this was like her coming out moment as far as like really stepping up. Like she's like, I don't give any F's right now. Like I've already left home.
Yeah, so she's like fully committed to the cause.
Fully committed to the cause. I mean, she did do the spray paint on the graffiti on the last in the last episode. But this episode, I think she was just like, I'm all in 100%. She's putting the paint on her face. Yep. And then we kind of like see,
because she's tired of, because you mentioned like the 9 stillbirths and all that. So she's like, she finally reached that breaking point where she's like, I'm tired of like how the community is being treated, how the mine is affecting the community. Like I reached that point where I'm tired, and now I'm going to join the fight to, try to make things better for the community.
Yes, exactly. And I didn't put a category for Leah, but I think she deserves one because in this scene, she brought her girlfriend with her. Yep. The one she got in trouble with over earlier on. And we saw her come with her to the secret protest thing that they did where they were showing like the water and stuff like that. She was with her in that particular scene, but she brings her with her. She also puts on the face paint, grabs the sign. Like it seems like she's going to be like gung ho along with Leah.
Right. I remember I even made a comment. I was like, oh man, she out there too. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But she fools her because when things, when shit hits the fan and she's like reaching out for her help, she runs and leaves her.
She was like, nah, like this ain't for me.
Yes.
Like, this shit getting too crazy. I ain't ready to commit you know,
Right.
to the cause to this level.
Right,
I
exactly.
might
And I really
get hurt
I
or,
thought about like
you
how
know.
in, you know, real life, you know, there are certain people, demographics who claim to be allies for certain things, but when things really get tough or when they really are needed on the front lines, they're nowhere to be found.
But yeah, because I think what ends up happening in those situations, right, is you choose the easy route.
Yeah.
Right. Like in that
Yeah.
case, you know, Leah is a Nupiat, you know, and then her girlfriend is white. You know, so they're basically from the opposing sides, right? And here she thinks she's coming together, but her girlfriend is choosing the easy route, right? She's like, oh, this is getting too crazy. I might as well just go back on this side where I ain't gotta worry about nothing. I ain't gotta do none of this shit. Like, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what we see in real life, where it's like, oh, the system is working in my favor and shit's getting too crazy. I ain't trying to get arrested, nothing like that. I'm just gonna go play ball where the stuff is working in my favor anyway.
For sure.
That's kind of what we saw.
Exactly. But yeah, so Leah is kind of like a victim of police brutality in this moment as well. Like she gets hit for no reason at all.
Oh yeah, dude was like, he's taking it to the next level.
He was taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
None of the protesters were getting violent. They were acting in response to being acted upon because of the police. And so like just seeing that whole thing play out was just wild. And then we'll talk a little bit more about that later too, because Navarro has, you know, I guess a coming to Jesus moment as well during that protest. But yeah, so I mentioned earlier that there were 9 stillbirths. And there's a moment when Danvers goes to, I don't know if it was a church or just a place that was a church and they were using it to house the bodies.
Yeah, I think it sounds right.
Yeah, because it was so, you know, cold in this particular time. They couldn't, like, you know, bury them in the ice. They had to wait to the later season to do that. So they basically collecting bodies within this building. And a lot of them were babies.
Yep.
And, you know, even Danvers seeing all of these coffins, and she even like read some of the little name tags and things, really like set things into motion for her. Like, we'll talk about that later too, but like the fact that, okay, this case can't just disappear. Like I have to see this through because these kids deserve that. And I thought that was a really powerful scene.
Yeah, I mean, all these little things are finally like getting through like her barriers. You know what I'm saying? That she's got, where she is forced to kind of play on the side of the law and just kind of play by the rules, in the sense of like dang, like I kind of see what's happening, but you know, I'm on with the side I'm working with, like I'm kind of forced. My hand is forced in a certain way. Yeah. But seeing all these stillbirths and stuff like that, like I feel like it's breaking down that wall, break through that barrier where she's like, I'm just gonna do what I feel and know is right. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter about the size, none of that bullshit. Like helping the community is what's right. And I feel like that's the kind of stuff that's helping like break that down.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. All right, so we're going to go ahead and talk about Navarro.
All
so Navarro, we talked a little bit about her knowing whether or not she was experiencing supernatural or mental illness a lot throughout this series so far. But one thing that perturbed me, I guess you would say, is that in the last episode, we ended with her having her, you know, ear bleeding, and she was kind of like staring off into space or whatever. But in this episode, they don't really bring that. Not really. They don't bring it up at all. And I was kind of like, why didn't they? You know, like, why wasn't that addressed, or why wasn't there like some kind of conversation being had?
That's one of the flaws with the show. Yeah. It's like certain things will happen in the show and then they won't revisit it. And I feel like it is a flaw. If we're keeping it real, it's a flaw with the show.
For sure.
And that's one of the examples.
Yeah, because I was like, that's a pretty big thing, you know, for us not to discuss it at all. Like, so what was going on with you back there, Danvers? I mean, Navarro or something, you know? Yeah. But yeah, so I was like, oh, dang, I was hoping for some kind of like.
Well, this episode had a big time jump, didn't it?
It was a big time
jump. So that's probably why, though. We're talking about a week later.
I understand that.
They might have already had the conversation, but it was off screen.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. But if I'm trying to justify it.
Yeah, you're definitely justifying it.
That's why, though. Yeah. We're talking about a week.
I need an on-screen conversation.
That's a long time. So
yes. She also has an experience when she's in the laundromat where she's washing her clothes. And as she goes to pull out her clothes from the washer, she sees like hair. And she's like pulling it. And before we get to see anything else, Kayla comes in and is like, is everything okay? Because she's like freaking out. Like, she's
you
like,
good?
like right, what's going on? So, and then later on, when she's driving to Danvers' house, there's like a mom and her child walking across the street, and the child just abruptly stops in the middle of the road and is pointing. And I think she said something, but I can't recall what she said. But I do know for sure that she's pointing off. And then I try to remember.
I thought that was weird. That didn't make sense to me.
No, it didn't. But I was wondering if something happens after, like something big happens after she witnesses people doing the pointing. But I couldn't really. So I feel like it means something, but I don't know what it could possibly mean.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like there's some kind of connotation or some kind of message or something that kind of correlates with this, but I couldn't put it together. So that could be something that means something later on. I don't know. Now, she is called in to protect the line basically during the protests.
Yep.
And there's a moment where she sees Annie K at the protest, like standing there. And I feel like that was kind of like a moment for her to be like, okay, why am I doing this type of thing? Like, I shouldn't be on this side of the line. I should be on the other side of the line. And then, you know, she then sees Leah about to get her ass beat, basically, unjustifiably. And she breaks up the fight. And then the guy's like mad at her, like, you know, what the F, you know, or whatever he says to her.
Because he's like, well, like, what you doing? Like, she's on the same team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And later on, when she's taking Leah back home or whatever, she's on the phone with Danvers, and Danvers tells her to lock her up. Yep. And
she's like, you sure? I'll do it.
Right. Yeah. She sounds like somebody's like cousin or aunt or whatever. And I think that they probably have that type of relationship, her and Leah, like, because when she's talking to her, she's like, man, you know, obviously, I'm sorry, like, that's your mom, but she understands how Danvers is. You know?
She actually said that. She literally said, I think, like, I'm starting to understand why Danvers feel the way she be feeling. Right,
exactly. But then in that same scene, she's like, you know,
what the fuck were you doing there?
What the fuck were you doing there?
Whose side are you on? You know? And I think that really is what she's thinking during that scene. Like, why am I here doing this?
Yep.
We talked a lot about her towing the line, over the course of the last few episodes, kind of like being on one side for the law and then also being a part of the Nubiac community, and her trying to like be clear on her identity and who she is and how she contributes to, you know, her community and whatnot. Yep. So I feel like in that moment, it was very clear, like, okay, I'm doing the wrong thing right here.
Yep.
You don't have anything to add?
No, I agree. 100%.
Okay. And then also we kind of got a little bit more of how she is dealing with her grief after the loss of her sister. She does basically stand guard, I guess, while watching her sister's body be cremated, her bones be cremated. And when she, like, you know, hands her the urn, she's like, you know, holds it close to her chest and whatnot. And so she takes her ashes to the ocean, which is frozen. So she has Rose there to help her
dig a hole
in the ice to put her ashes in. And while she's out there, she has another experience where she's hearing her name being called, and she walks out and she kind of has one of those like flashes where she's now back into wherever in the Middle East where she was when she was serving. Yeah. And when she finally comes back to, it's because the ice is cracking where she's staying, because she's walked out onto the ocean.
To where like the actual sea is.
To where the actual sea is, right? And so Rose like, get down, like, you know, so she can call back to the safe. She's like, why did you go out there? Like, I was calling your name and you didn't hear me, which was really crazy.
Yep.
But yeah, so did you have anything to add from Navarro before we move on to Danvers?
No, like I pretty much agreed with everything you said. It was a lot of emotional moments.
It was.
You know, she experienced more of the call stuff. She's, you know, playing the same game of like, dang, like I'm supposed to be fighting for, you know, my people, but I'm also on this police officer side where, like, you know, a certain type of, you know, certain type of experience or certain type of like actions are expected of me. Like, so she, you know, she walking a tough line, but she trying to do her best to work within what she got, but for the community. So yeah.
Now one note thing about the call thing. You know how she talks about how the call, if you follow it, then you'll die. And I thought about that during that scene, actually, because she was following.
She would have been out to the sea.
She would have
just
died.
like her sister.
Yeah. So I thought that was really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's go ahead and start talking about Danvers. There's a lot going on with Danvers in this episode.
Yeah.
But first, before we get into like all the nitty gritty stuff, like earlier when she was with Leah in the bathroom, before she walks out the door, Leah says, "I haven't given up on you," and that was like, ooh.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, that was.
So that kind of lets us know that this relationship can be salvaged.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to take some work on Danvers' side to do that. But at least the door hasn't closed,
Right. Yeah.
and I think that's really sweet. So in regards to the case, in the beginning of the episode, we see her questioning Otis Heiss, and first of all, he is going through withdrawals from heroin, right? Yep. And so he is struggling. But she's trying to figure out, like, how does he know Clark? What's the connection with him, Salal, and all that stuff? And so he's like, I didn't know him. It's like he reached out to me because he wanted to know how I survived my injuries. So very weird, right? Because these things didn't happen already, so it's just really weird. Like, he was asking him about the injuries that he sustained and how he survived them.
Yep.
So he does proceed to tell Danvers after she's asked him, like, what happened to you? Like, how did you get these injuries? And he doesn't even really know. He just remembers, like, there's big snow falling, like an avalanche, or wherever he was, kind of like caving in, and him escaping with some other people, and him hearing someone like saying something, but he
said he heard something.
Yeah, but he couldn't understand what it was saying. And then he kind of like wakes up in the hospital with these injuries. So I thought that was super weird.
Yeah.
And
that's definitely feels supernatural-esque. So.
It does, or something. Almost like, well, what is going on out here? Because we haven't revisited. Another thing we haven't revisited is what happened with the people that were out doing the hunting for Raymond Clark with Hank and all them, and how they came back to the hospital acting all crazy and weird. Do you remember that?
Well, yeah, I just assumed they probably got into some stupid tussle. To me, that wasn't significant. I just feel like they got into a tussle because maybe they got called back to, it's like, hey, calling it off. And they probably were like, man, why are we calling it off? We got to go hunt this. Like, no, you done, on this case.
I don't know about that.
To me, it's just like
I thought they were reacting.
A bunch of rednecks fighting the police, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that to me didn't mean nothing.
I don't see why they would be fighting the police when they're the ones who with them. You know what I'm saying? Because
they want to be out there. They want to kill somebody.
I don't think that's
because none of these other people are like aggressive. Like the people, the frozen people, like they died of being frozen, but they weren't like aggressive. Otis Heiss wasn't aggressive. You know what I'm trying to say? So I don't think aggression is a symptom of whatever it is they're experiencing out there.
I'm not saying that they experienced the exact same thing. Like, maybe they experienced something. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Right.
But anyways, so he also said that, because she was trying to figure out about the night country or whatever. But when she asked him about the night country, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But Raymond Clark did say to him, how he had to hide again. And he asked him why.
She's awake.
Yep.
And then obviously she has a flashback when he says that of, the dream she had or whatever, the experience she had with her son when he said she's awake. Now he does tell her or show her on a map where the opening is to this cave system is. And she and Navarro do go there. They travel to this cave opening. And this just so happens to be on the lands that the mine owns, Silver Sky Mines owns. And they get there and it's completely like covered
caved
up.
In.
Yes, but it definitely looks very intentional.
Oh yeah, they blew it up.
Right. And Navarro's like, of course, at every turn that they have with this case, there's some blockade.
Yep.
And obviously that upsets her. More than it upsets Danvers in that moment, but she's just like pissed off because it's like, it doesn't matter what we do, like we always get something in our way.
Yep.
Now something happens, which I'll talk about in a moment, where Danvers decides, okay, we're not going to pursue this case any longer.
Right.
And because Navarro comes to see her because she's like, amped up. She's got this information regarding the stone that we found, which I'll bring up a little bit later. And she's like, I know where we need to go to get to these caves. And Danvers is like, nope, we can't do it. Can't. There's nothing else we can do. We're just going to let this go. Yep. And she's like, why? We've come so far. Why would we walk away at this point? But Connolly and Kate, McKittrick, or whatever her name is, I don't know if she owns the mine or her husband owns the mine, but she's up there in the mine.
An executive.
Yeah. So they had a meeting where they called in Danvers, and which was very weird. Even Navarro, because she was with her at the time, and she was like, why are you going over there? Yep. Because that was like a thing for troopers to do, because the APF it's not in their jurisdiction to handle anything regarding the mine. Yep. And she's like, I don't know. So she goes over there prepared, though, because she has some documentation on some information that that Peter had provided regarding their financials.
Yeah, because Peter's a beast.
That he is. And so when they get there, they're like being very weird. And so they call her into a conference room and basically tell her, hey, we had our forensic scientists prove that there's no murder at all. And that there's nothing else for you to be investigating. Yeah,
they were like Anchorage determined that they it was like weather. There
was
death.
An avalanche.
Yep.
It was a weather-related incident.
Yep.
And because she was wondering, because she had video footage of Navarro and Danvers at this cave opening, why are y'all on Silver Sky Mines property? And she's like, well, we are still investigating NK's death, and we believe that they're connected. And she's like, well, there's no murder anyway, so there's nothing for you to continue investigating.
Yep.
So she's basically shutting them down from going forward. And Connolly uses what he knows now about the Wheeler case to make sure she doesn't continue this case.
It's like, hey, you want to bring up that Wheeler case? You better chill out.
And obviously she's like, well, how the hell does this guy know this? And we find out why a little bit later. So let's talk a little bit about Connolly's ass, because I told you why he was there. And I didn't know that he was running for mayor of Ennis, but he is. And I knew it had something to do with him running for mayor. And as soon as I saw him with her on screen, I was like, oh yeah, she's lining his campaign pockets.
I think we both agreed that it was like political, like he was trying to do stuff to boost his career potential.
So he definitely has the motivation to want to shut down these protests, to shut down this case, because I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like as someone who's running for a mayor of a town, you don't want people thinking like, there's an unsolved murder case, especially one that's that big, going on in the town that you're mayor of. Yeah. So obviously, like you even said, he wants to look good and all this kind of stuff. So that was very, very
That's
clear.
What he's trying to do.
And he doesn't. He's just trash. And Kate's her ass. I feel like I don't like none of these people.
Well, because these are all the villains. You're not supposed to like them. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you're not supposed to like these people.
Earlier, I don't even know which episode it was. It was either 1 or 2 and I mentioned it, I think, in the last time we talked, but when she sees Hank at the skating rink, she's like, she says something to him like, you still got me, or I hope you can still got
like
me.
They were
something
cool
like that.
or something.
Right,
like they had something going on.
Something going on. And that was kind of like our inclination. But in this episode, we got the full raw, this is what is actually going on. So she and Hank meet up in like secret at the mines, because that was actually our image that we got at the end of the opening sequence. This time it was the mine. They meet in secret, and she basically shares to us that they were involved in the Annie Kotak murder. And she knew, she's like, Danvers is not going to let this go. And so we gotta have to figure out some kind of way to maneuver out of this. And so she suggests, but doesn't say, because she's very clear about that. Did I say this? She suggests to Hank in a very backhanded way for him to take out the engineer. Otis Heist, because he is going to be the key to them getting in these caves. And she even said if they get in those caves, they're going to get the evidence they need. And she obviously doesn't want that to happen.
Yep. But she also kind of alluded to, like, you know, taking them both out, because she was like, you know, because she had already originally promised him chief of police. But then she said, like, oh, I didn't anticipate, you know, Danvers coming down here. So she also kind of like...
I don't think that's what she was insinuating. I think it was more so just the heist woman. I mean, heist man, not really Danvers.
Because she seemed like she was kind of reiterating that promise, like, hey, you can get chief of police.
I don't think that's how she expects him to get chief of police. I'm assuming that she knows that Connolly's got Danvers in his back pocket with the whole Wheeler thing. And he can easily take that from her. Like, the chief of police think from her.
That's true.
And then that will open up an avenue for Hank to be the chief of police. So I guess we could talk about Hank now since we're already kind of like discussing him. But yeah, so what I thought was funny was he can actually sing and play the guitar.
Yeah, that was cool.
So,
he sounded good.
Yeah, he did.
He sounded good.
You know, because earlier Peter was talking to Leah about the fact that
Mom said he wasn't good enough to have a career.
And he had never heard him play or anything like
yeah.
that. And he was like, I assume that he just can't or whatever.
And it's almost like he keeps on the low, though, because when Peter called him, like, hey, like, what are you up to? He's like, oh, I'm just working on my truck right now. He didn't say, like, I'm playing my guitar or nothing.
Right, yes.
So he also kind of, like, keeps it on the low. Like, he don't want people to really know, like, how good he is at playing, or he doesn't want people to know that he plays or see him play or hear him play or whatever. Because he was like, oh, yeah, I'm just working on my truck.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know why he lied there.
Yeah.
I agree. He doesn't probably want him to know. And then also I'm wondering, like, if he has, like, I don't know. I don't think he really trusts his son in any regard, right? So it's
Oh, well,
kind of
yeah,
like
because he going to run the Danvers with anything.
anything.
So,
yeah. So I don't think he would ever be honest with him about anything, even if something as small as I'm playing my guitar.
Right. Yep.
But also you see that Peter doesn't trust his dad either,
Nope.
or care to be honest with him. I don't know if him lying about the fact that he was 5 minutes away is a result of the fact that his dad lied to him about what he was doing, or if he would have lied anyway. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no, I think he would have lied no matter what.
Yeah, so they had a weird relationship. But yeah, so we all talked about the fact that he met with Kate and talked about becoming the chief again. But I thought was a good thing to note in their conversation is he was like, I'm not a killer, you know?
Oh, yeah,
and
no,
he kind of
he's not
felt
like
for
that.
him a little bit, even though, you know, I don't like Hank. Like, you kind of felt for him a little bit because it seems like he's just really caught up in like something he just can't get out of type of thing. I don't know. But I feel like he's been paid because I think it was at one point he said, oh, that money's gone. Or
Yeah, he
something
mentioned
like
the money.
that.
Yeah, that's tough, right? They come from a impoverished background. You know what I'm saying? They don't got a lot, so for the mine got all the money. So for them to offer probably bags on bags, they're like, damn, I gotta do this,
Right.
You know? Yeah.
And obviously they got deep pockets, as we can see. Because at one point, when Danvers first came to Kate's office, she came with a folder in her hand, because inside the folder were like these financial reports that Peter had found and discovered that basically showed that the mines was actually financing the Salal research. And Danvers took from that the Salal were, skewing the pollution documents to make it seem like they weren't doing as much harm to the area that they were. So yeah, they got some deep pockets. They paying everybody.
Oh yeah.
Then later on, we know that he admits that he moved Annie K's body, but he did not kill her.
Yep.
So I just was like, dang, Hank. We already knew he was involved in some way.
We knew, we called that from way back from the beginning. He was involved with something.
Yeah, we already knew he was involved in some way, but it's just like, I don't know, kind of like disheartening to hear him actually say the words that he's the one who moved her. So
yeah, he was involved.
He was all the way involved.
That's why he had the case and a case box in his house.
Exactly. Right.
Yep.
And now let's talk a little bit about Peter, my friend. So in this episode, he gets kicked out the house.
Yep.
This boy was about to make him a bowl of cereal. And Kayla was like, yeah, you got to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, Darren, can you finish this cereal?
Yeah, I mean, they obviously got, You know, they don't really show all their problems, but they obviously had really bad problems.
Yeah.
Way before all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because you would think from like a marriage standpoint, it's like, yeah, you really call up in this case. You want to kick somebody out in the middle of like, there's a lot of shit going on. So obviously, like, their issues are so deep rooted, well beyond this whole, he just been working late a lot. Because it doesn't make sense to kick somebody out when they like are in the midst of something major occurring and working towards. That shit don't make no sense.
Well, I'm sure you have a little bit of bias in that statement.
Not really, because I'm looking at it from the standpoint of what they presenting to us.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, is this woman kicking this dude out of this house.
Yeah.
Because he been working late a lot.
I don't think it has to do with him working.
It does.
Not all.
Pretty much that's what it is.
Okay, no, because what did Leah tell him?
Oh, she wants the sweet Peter back or something like that.
So it's more than just him working.
Well, he can't be sweet if he's not around. He at work. This nigga's working a lot. Some
of those work things he don't have to do.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? But like he wants to be great at his job. He is a better detective. He's a better detective than everyone at the whole station, even Danvers Navarro.
Yeah.
Peter's at like a different tier of detective because this nigga finds out everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying like he wants to be great. And to achieve greatness, you got to put in crazy work.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe they shouldn't have gotten married or whatever, but the fact is they're married now. They got a kid.
They are married. They
but
have
he's
a kid.
he's still trying to achieve that greatness as a detective.
And you don't think it has anything to do with what he said in the bed?
What? Well, yeah. Like she didn't really want a baby or whatever.
It makes it seem like he putting not all of it, but most of the blame on her. Like saying like we wouldn't be in this situation if you didn't. If this is this is a result of how you are feeling. Like you are being resentful. You are being like this distance. You're creating the distance between us.
Well, yeah, they are both equal parts causing the issues in this. Mm-hmm. Can he set aside work sometimes more? Sure. Can she be more understanding? Absolutely. It's equal parts in the issues that are within the relationship.
Right. Well, I do think there's probably something we don't know.
Sure. I'm sure there's way more details on what the show has offered. But that's what I'm saying. It's kind of the issue is like they're not really giving us enough, so we just gotta like guess. Yeah. But how the way the show is presenting it is like the final catalyst is he's just working a lot.
Yeah. Now we also get to see Peter basically show us just how good he is, how good of a damn detective he is. So earlier when Connolly tells Danvers that he knows about the Wheeler case, Danvers immediately is like, how the fuck he know this? Yep. And so she figures it out, basically. Mm-hmm. The only way for Connolly to know is for Hank to know. Yep. And so how would Hank know? Is if he somehow got the information from without Peter knowing. Yep. Because Peter obviously wouldn't willingly tell him that. Right. And so she calls him she walks into the office and she's like, you, get him office. Bring that thing with you. Yeah, bring it. Because she already knew the culprit was his laptop. She already knew the code. She already knew the shit. She knew what his code was. Yeah. It's crazy. Obvious what it would have been. And so she's like, you just had to keep digging, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't let it go. It's funny to me how she talks to him because she does talk to him like a mom. Yeah, like he's her child. Yep. So she's like, all right, ask me the questions.
Ask the questions, Pryor.
And she allows him to basically proceed through how he has built this case to prove that he knows that they indeed killed Wheeler and it was not a murder-suicide. Like down to the detail of even the fact that the police office had flooded at one point in time and that's how the records got lost. Yep. And which was funny because that's why Hank even had all those records in his house because of the flood. But yeah, so he knew all of that. That shit was
so hard. That was a great scene. Mm-hmm. He was like, did you know Wheeler was left-handed? Yeah. Like, but he was shot, committed suicide in the right side of his head.
He killed
and they doctored the photos. That shit was, I was like, damn, Peter is a beast.
He's a beast.
But like, but I think the scene also proved like he is a beast like from a technical perspective,
He
like
is.
technique wise.
Yes.
But he's still a child in the sense of like not thinking of like the most simple stuff in the sense being like, yeah, your dad knows your password.
Is your
'cause it's
baby's birthday.
Right. Like, come on,
Yeah.
dude. Like, you just leaving it out for him to go through.
Yeah.
Like,
And he's like,
like-
you need to get out of this house like now.
yeah, you got to be aware of what your dad is doing.
Exactly.
Like, you're being super naive to like what's going on.
Right. Exactly. To things around him, which also can tie back to what's going on with him and Kayla, because he clearly don't know why he got kicked out the house. He's like, come on, Kayla. Like, he seemed like he don't really understand why she put him out.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so he's blind to like the simplest things, the things that are, that are humanly connection based.
Right.
But yeah, like the technical aspect, he got that down.
Oh yeah,
pat,
he a beast
for sure. That yeah, he goes to stay with Danvers. She gives him the key to her shit, which had no heat.
Yeah, I thought, but even before that though, we had that moment where like his dad tried to walk in afterwards.
Oh yeah,
and he was like, "Oh, what'd she say?"
Leave me alone.
And he's like, "Get the fuck away from me."
Get
like,
away
that was
from me.
hard. Yeah.
It was. He had finally had to stand up for himself,
Yep.
because I mean, Hank is a bad father. He's a bad detective. He's a bad dad.
Yep.
It just sucks.
He fell down the wrong path.
He really did.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so he ends up staying at Danvers's.
So like you
house.
said, like I'm thinking like, oh, you can stay in this. I'm thinking maybe it's got this insulated or something.
Right.
It's just a
Nothing.
lawn chair in there,
Ain't
and
nothing
like
in there.
ain't
He's
nothing.
like down and fall to the bottom of the dago.
I hope they got a heater in there or something, like a portable heater. Like it look like it's stupid cold in that little shit.
Exactly. So then later on in the episode, we get to like the
big finale.
big
part.
finale.
Yep.
So what had led up to all this is the fact that Kate sent Hank on a mission to find Otis Heist, because at this point no one else knows where he was. Only Danvers knew where he was, and Kate was like, "Well, if you just follow her, she'll lead you to him."
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So after Danvers goes to see those coffins and she decides that she's going to do what she has to do to see this case through, she goes to the evidence room and finds some heroin. And she takes that heroin to Otis. And she's like, all right, come on, let's go. Because I need you on your A game so you can help me get in these caves.
Yep.
And so she takes him to her house. And Hank shows up, knocking on the door.
Yep.
He acting all cool. Like,
Yeah, he
hey,
is.
girl, like,
Hey, Connolly said, I got to bring in Heist.
I gotta bring in Heist.
Yep.
And Danvers like, what for? I ain't heard about this. And and he cons his way in. He come all up in the house.
Yep.
And she's like, how did you know he was here? And he was like, oh, I didn't know he was here. Oh, what is even better? That saved me a trip, basically, And so she's like, I'm gonna call Connolly
Myself.
right. But before she does
That's
that,
when he grabbed the
he
gun.
pulls the gun off her. She had her gun on the counter.
Yep.
He pulls it. He's like, you ain't about to do that today.
Yep. Hey, give me Heist.
I gotta do what I gotta do.
Yep.
Yeah. And so Heist walks out. I was like, his tail. He needs to stay in the bathroom.
Yeah, he should have. Yep.
He comes out. He eventually gets shot
Yep.
twice.
Shot right in the head.
I was
John
like,
Wick style.
dang.
Yep.
You and John Wick.
John Wick style. Yep.
Yeah. And when he does that, Peter comes out, gun drawn, pointing at his dad, and kind of like Danvers a little bit too, because he don't know what the hell going on.
He's assessing the situation right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the following events really shocked me. But yeah, so he tells him this is how we found out that he moved Annie K's body, because he tells him like, I didn't
kill her, but I did move the
but
body.
I did move the body. And then he says something else. He says like blood is blood or something like
Peter.
that
Yep.
to Peter. And he pulls his gun up towards Danvers as if he's going to shoot her. And then Peter shoots him in the head.
He got no choice. Yeah. Because he thinks he's going to kill Danvers. So like, it's like, dang, I don't have no choice but shoot my own dad.
And obviously Hank knew he was going to choose to do that, that's why he said all these things, basically confessing to what happened before Peter shoots him.
Yep.
I don't know. That was just a really wild scene. I think I was standing up in the corner of that room.
Yeah, you
because I
did.
was just
You were
like,
standing up
oh
on it.
my gosh.
Yeah, that was cool. I knew he was going to shoot him. Like once Peter came in, I already knew. Like,
yeah.
Like
I didn't know he was going to kill
let
him though.
He won't going to let Hank do nothing else.
Yeah.
Because he sees Danvers and Navarro as such a great people in the sense of like just great police work, police folks. So like, I already knew he was gonna kill him. He was gonna kill his ass.
And then it gets funny for a moment when Navarro comes, because she had called Navarro to come with her so they could finally go to the case because, Otis was there to give them the location of where to go in.
He's gonna be their guide.
He was gonna be their guide too, right? So she was calling her over. So she was already on her road on the way over there.
Yep.
And when she comes to the door, she's just like, what the fuck happened?
Yep.
I leave y'all alone for 10 minutes and then come back and y'all done killed everybody.
Yeah. She walked into like a crazy scene.
Yeah, exactly. Like what happened? But she didn't really have to ask, I don't think. She kind of like put two and two together because Peter is jacked up, okay? Mm-hmm. Obviously, he just had to kill his parent. Yep. The parent who raised him his whole entire life. So he's kind of distraught for a moment there. And Danvers said something really dumb.
I'm gonna call Connolly.
She was like, I need to call Connolly. And I'm like, what the hell you think you gotta call him?
Yeah, that's the wrong thing to do.
Like after, obviously, he's in cahoots with Kate. So why would you even think to call him anyway?
Right. I guess, I think for her, it was like, she was thinking for Peter, right?
Right, yeah.
Just
exactly.
like, well, okay, if we just lay it all out, he won't get in trouble, but we try to cover it up.
But
now he got the chance to get in
Navarro was
trouble.
like, no, if you call Connolly, Peter is going to jail. She had to tell her like that because that's the only way I guess she was going to understand. So she didn't do anything about that. So she was going to stay and clean up everything and let Navarro go off to the caves. And she was like, no, you can't. I can't go by myself. Peter was like, yeah, she can't go alone. You have to go with her. I got this. And obviously she doesn't want to leave this dude there to cleaning up his own dad's body. That's a lot.
Well, and that's also the mom and child relationship, right?
Well,
she feels like
she got to protect him. Got to do this for him, right?
Sure
protect
good.
him, make sure he's good. So she's very tearful. She's
she's very emotional.
Very emotional. She does not want to leave him. And he's like, I got this. Go. And then Navarro tells him, take the bodies to where I laid Julie. Just call Rose, tell her to take you to where Julie is, and that's where you get rid of the bodies. And she makes him repeat it, so he's clear on what he needs to do. And she's like,
you know what to do.
And I think she was saying that because he is so good at police work,
he would know how to clean it up.
Right? It's like what everyone would look for. Yeah. So everything to clean.
Yeah.
That's what she's like. You know what to do. Yes. Like you got this.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they left him.
Yep.
And I was very sad.
Yep.
And so the show ends with them in the car heading towards the caves.
Yep.
As always, we always talk about like a few things that kind of stuck out to us, but we don't really know how they fit into the puzzle quite yet. So the first thing for me is the laundromat scene. So Kavik, my boy Kavik brought it through because in the last episode we thought he had stole the rock.
It was weird at first, but so they brought that back around.
Yes. So he is not a rock stealer. We know for sure.
Yep.
So he shows up at the laundromat where Navarro is, which I thought was really, a really good scene because it was like a redemption for me for Kavik. Yeah. I still don't know. I still got my eye on him, but at least now it's a little bit less.
Yep.
But so he shows up to show her, he's bringing someone to tell her that he knows what the symbol means on the rock. So he hands her the rock back. She now has it back. He tells her that the symbol is used as a warning to hunters. So when you see this symbol, you know that the ice is thin in this area and to basically be careful. But I guess the weird thing is where we've seen the symbols at. So we've seen them in Tagat's little hut thing.
Yeah, he drew it.
Yeah, we've seen it in the trailer.
Oh yeah, I don't know
either. But like I said, this is stuff we don't really know.
Yeah. Or it's where they marked something off somewhere.
Right.
So they drawn it because they put something there they weren't supposed to, or a body or something.
Well, Navarro uses this information to say, okay, well, if I can't go in the cave through the entryway that's now covered, then we can look for the thinner parts of the ice to go in from the top.
Yep.
So that's going to be their plan.
Yep.
Now also in the laundromat, that woman from the warehouse who I looked her up, her name is Blair. Her character name is Blair.
Okay.
The one who has the missing fingers. So I feel like she has some way to fit into all of this. I don't know how, but it's just really weird for her to have shown up in this scene and have nothing to do. Like, why is she there? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And not even saying this particular scene, but why she was in this episode at all. I just feel like she has some kind of like purpose. No, I don't think it's random. I think there's something weird about her.
Okay.
Like, even from the first moment I saw her, I told you, like, the way she looked at the symbol was
like
really
she knew
weird.
something more about the
She
symbol.
knew something more about it. And now she's showing up again right when Kavik is showing the symbol to Navarro. I just think it's really weird.
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah.
So now that we know that Kate was involved in the Kotak murder, my next question is, how do the deaths of the scientists fit in? Because now we also know that there's a connection. Like, you know, they were financing them and they were doing something illegal in return, which is, you know, skewing the numbers and the data. So how do they fit into what happened to Annie, you know?
Well, I personally think, I don't know if they got anything to do with her specifically. Because to me, you know, they use that as a way to when they talked about, oh, they just died by a weather incident, they were just using that to get her to stop looking for anything. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well, yeah, but obviously that's not how they died. So how did they die? And so you're saying that the cases are not connected, but because Danvers believes they are connected, they want to shut down that case?
Yeah, I don't know if they're connected in that way. I just don't know, because they died in different places. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? They're like, the locations aren't the same where they died at. Now they're saying similar stuff, like she's awake.
Yeah, that's why I feel like it's got to be some kind of connection.
Yeah, maybe what's in the cave or what got released from the cave maybe is what the connecting piece could be. But I think the all scientists only fit in the sense of, like, you know, they are researchers and they unleash something. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Well, anyway,
because it got to be supernatural based off of what everyone else is saying. You know, it's like
because of the she's awake.
Like
thing?
Heist saying she's awake. Somebody said to him he heard some weird sound and he blacked out and had all these injuries and was at the hospital. Like, what can cause that? Like, there's not like a supernatural thing. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Like
I guess we'll find out.
Only thing I think of is like maybe he got flash banged or something. But even then, I don't think it's gonna knock you out to the point where you can wait till you be in the hospital. But
yeah.
Yes, I don't know. I don't think they're gonna fit in the way that we think that they are. Like, I don't know if they're gonna have like an actual connection to Annie Kotak. You know what I'm saying? I think her murder is gonna be like, her actual murder is like a separate thing. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, whoever killed her is the same person that killed the scientist.
Well, I'm not saying that that's the case. I don't think that they're the very same killers, but I do think their cases are somehow connected. Like, this is a result of the Annie K murder or something like that. I feel like there's some kind of tie to the two cases.
Like, maybe killing her awakened some sort of thing.
You are stuck on that. I don't know.
Well, because I mean, they keep talking about all supernatural shit. So I feel like at this point, if it ain't supernatural, I'm gonna be disappointed. Like, well, damn, like, we talked about supernatural shit this whole season, and now it's not supernatural. So I feel like it's gotta be.
Right. Okay. Well, this next episode is I can't believe that it's the last
finale.
one.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So I feel like this better be a long episode because there's a whole lot we don't know. You know.
Well, are we getting into like our closing thoughts? Like,
oh yeah,
we're
at our closing thoughts. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, because like, for this to be the penultimate episode, like, the last piece of it was really good. The whole thing that happened with,
that could have happened a little bit sooner for you.
Yeah, I think so.
We could have got a little bit more.
Well, yeah, you know, just there's more build up. Like, you know, that week time jump and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot of, like, the way that this is being uncovered just doesn't feel as good as it could. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, most of the time, like, when like a revelation is found, like, Peter's just handing it to them, but it's like he found information off camera and now is bringing it. But like, we want to see those connecting pieces happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We want to see the investigations, be like, okay, like, them connecting the dots. Like, even the way we learned about like Hank's involvement, personally, I didn't really like it.
How him saying it,
like, him
in the car,
him
or him
just
giving
him
it,
like just a random scene. Boom, Kate's in the car with Hank, and we're getting all this information. I'm like, damn, I kind of would have wanted to see that play out in a discovery and not like, oh, here's the scene. Oh, yeah, see,
okay.
they connected.
Gotcha.
Instead of them being like, oh, where was Hank during this time? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like, it would have been way more fun.
You would have liked to have seen something like that.
Yeah.
Come out, kind of how Peter approached the Wheeler thing.
Right. Like it was investigation. And, you know, I feel like it's more fun that way instead of like showing what they're up to, like letting us be in the dark and discovery as the characters are discovering, and not like, you know, showing what the plans, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, like I still liked the episode. You know what I'm saying? Especially the finale I thought was super epic. I don't know how they're gonna wrap it up in this last episode with it being just 6, and I feel like there's so much we could have learned along the way. It felt very like fast in a sense. We didn't get to like fully enjoy the discovery of this case. Like I said, I hope it's supernatural at this point because they keep feeding us so much supernatural shit that if it's not supernatural, I'm gonna be super disappointed. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I still like the series. Like, I still like the vibe. I like the tone. Still like the way things, like the presentation of it. I just wish it was longer so we can have gone a little bit slower and really worked the case.
Yeah.
I feel like
I agree with that.
Yeah, but other than that, like, I thought still like a decent episode, and like I'm still excited for the finale. You know what I'm saying? I'm really like, all right, let's get in this cave. Let's see what the fuck happened. Like, I'm ready to see it at this point.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm like you. I wish it was a longer series. I think I mentioned that in the last time we talked about this.
Yeah, you did. Yep.
Like, I do wish we had a few more episodes, like a 10 episodes.
It should have been 10, yeah. For this type
like
of thing, yeah, it should have been 10.
So we could get more, you know, just more character development, just more, because, you know, for me, I really wanted more Peter stuff, and we didn't get a whole lot of that.
Yeah, we did.
But yeah, just also like more fleshing out of the story itself. And like you said, working the case. Like, we want to work the case too. Like, that's why we watch True Detective.
That's what's
to be detectives.
Well, yeah, like I feel like any type of true crime show, that's what's fun. Is like the mystery and working the case, and you learning stuff as the characters learning shit. Like, oh shit, okay, like, all right, here we go. You know, so we'll see how this finale is, man. Like, hopefully it's good.
It's better. It better be good because
hopefully it's good.
Like you said, it's been so much build up. We need a really good finale.
Yeah, we do. We need a strong finale. But y'all, that's what we think about episode 5, the penultimate episode of True Detective Night Country. Let us know down in the comments. What did you think about episode 5? Were there things that you didn't like that you liked? Did you like the setup going into the finale? Do you think it's going to be supernatural? Or do you think they're going to be like, oh, we fooled you the whole time. We played you.
It's really a killer.
It was just really a killer, or it was like they're using some fancy technology. I don't know. But y'all let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you're listening on Spotify, you can answer over in the Q&A section down below there. But y'all, thank you so much. If you've tuned into this entire recap and review of episode 5 for Night Country, thank you so much for tuning into the whole thing. We appreciate that. Make sure you make sure you review over on Spotify and Apple. Make sure you comment. Make sure you subscribe, y'all, to stay engaged with us on discussion of all things horror. Until next time, peace.